Hi everyone, welcome back to Life Technologies YouTube channel, and thank you so much for watching and supporting our content. So this is another episode of our Nokia Lab simulation series, and remember in our last episode we started to discuss how to implement VPRNs on Nokia routing devices. So we said VPRNs are similar to VRFs on Cisco or even the VPN instances on Huawei routing and switching devices. So in our last episode, we demonstrated how to configure VPRNs on Nokia routing devices. And in this episode, we'll be focusing on how to configure static routes within the VPRNs. So sometimes you need to configure static routes so that we have communication from one prefix to another within the VPRNs. So this is what we'll be demonstrating in this episode, and if you haven't watched our previous episode, kindly check it out on our channel and have a look. It will help you to understand how to configure the VPRNs on Nokia routing devices. So we are using the same topology. You can see that we have PEs and we have CEs. So from the CEs are configured to be different VPN instances. We have VPN1 and VPN2. And we need to have communication between similar VPNs. So we need to ping from C1 to C3 and also from C2 to C4. But again, sometimes we need to be able to reach the system IP. So we'll be configuring our static routes on the PE device, the middle device, so that we are able to ping the system IP addresses of the CEs from the PE router. And this one will be implemented using static routes. So we know that many times we have, as much as we hate using static routes, we end up having to configure static routes on special occasions or special requirements. So you can see that from this topology, we have from P1, if I run show system LLDP neighbor, you can see that we have this connection. So we have a connection to C1, C2, C3, and C4. And then we have configured the services. So we'll go through the configuration for services again, just so that you understand how to configure the services. So we have created two VPNs. We have VPN1 and VPN2. For VPN1, we have given it service ID of 100, and you can see that we have configured the interfaces facing to C1 and C3. So these are the two interfaces that are enabled within this VPRN 100. And then we have configured our route distinguisher and the VRF targets. Remember, with the VPNs, we always have to configure the route distinguisher to make prefixes unique and allow customer to use overlapping prefixes. And then we have VRF targets that now will control the route export and import between local and remote provider edge routers. So we have another VPRN 200, and in this VPRN 200 we have given it a name of VPN2 and configured the two interfaces, interface to CE2 and interface to CE4. So these are the two interfaces. You can see that we have configured the route distinguisher and the VRF targets for VPN2. So you can run show router, the VPRN ID, and then the interface. You can see that we have two interfaces. When I do for VRF 200, we have a similar output. We have interface to C3 and C4. You can also show router 100 ARP to get the MAC addresses. You can also check for the other VRF. And you can also check the routing table. So router, the VRF ID route table. You get the routes that we have. We can also do the same for VRF 200. So you get the details. So you can check the MAC address table, you can check the routing table, you can check the interfaces configured within these VRFs. And we can also try to ping. So if I show router 100 ARP, you can see that we have learned the MAC address. If I want to ping, I need to ping router 100. So I specify the VRF. This is how you ping using the VRF on Nokia routing devices. So it's ping router 100, and then I can ping this IP, the remote IP. So I'm able to ping. I can also ping the other .3, which means we have communication between the PEs and the CEs. So show router 200 ARP, you have the MAC address, can ping router the VPRN ID, it's 200, and then we ping this IP. This should be 2025. Then we can also test for 2021. So this one confirm that we have connectivity between the PEs and the CEs. So the next step, I've mentioned that we need to configure static routes on the PE device so that we are able to ping the system interfaces, the system IPs on the CEs within the different VRFs. So for us to be able to implement this, the first thing that we need to do is we need to configure static routes, and this static route will be configured within the VPRNs. But before we do that, we will start by configuring the system IP addresses on the CEs. So we'll start from C1. C1 had the IP address of 3.3.3. So on C1, if I run show router interface, you can see that we only have the interface to P1 configured. So I will configure router interface system, and then I give it address of, for C1, it's 3.3.3, masks 32. So now show router interface, you have the interfaces configured. So on P1, if I try to ping 3.3.3, I'm not able to ping. If I ping router 100 3.3.3, I'm also not able to ping because I don't have the route. If I run show router 100 route table 3.3.3, I don't have the route. So we'll go ahead and configure static routes. For us to be able to configure static routes, we have to be in the VPRN configuration view, the hierarchy I mean. So it's VPRN 100 info. This is the configuration that we have for now, and the command that you use, you need the static entry command, and then you enter the prefix that you want to be able to reach, 3.3.3 masks 32, and you need the next hop command. So next hop should be the interface connecting the two, so it's 2020.7. And then we need no shutdown. So this is the command that you need, static route entry 3.3.3.3 mask is 32. Next hop is set to the outgoing interface, and then you need to enable the static route. So now if I run info, you can see that we have a static route configured. If you don't want this static route, it's very simple. You just need to shut down and it will be inactive. So if I now show router 100 route table, you can see that we have the static route here, and the preference is set to 5. So for the route preferences on Nokia, you can see that a static route has a preference of 5, direct route will have a preference of 0. So now if I do ping router 100, ping router 100 3.3.3, so the issue is, yes, we know the route from this side, but we don't know the route on the CE. So on the CE, we can configure a default static route, because if I show route table, you can see that we don't have a route to the other side. So what we can do is configure router static route entry, and then 0.0.0 will configure default static route and point it to next hop. So the next hop should be 20.20.20.6. now shut down. So you can see that in this one we are doing the static route configuration on the global routing table, the public routing table, but the other side we did it under the VRF. So this is how you just need to configure router, and then you do the static route configuration. So configure router, do info, you have our static routes here, and we try to do the ping again from here. You can see that now our ping is going through without any problem, because we have the bidirectional communication between the routers. So info again, this is how you configure the static route. We'll configure another static route in VPRN 200 just to test the connectivity between, or let's do the one for C3. So C3 will be 4.4.4. So VPRN 100 static route entry, similar command. We are targeting to reach, let's see it again, 4.4.4. So it's 4.4.4, mask is 32. Next hop should be the interface connecting. This is .3 no shutdown. So if you do info, you can see that we now have two static routes under this VRF. And of course, if we try to ping router 100 3.3.ping router 100, it's 4.4.4. we're still not able to ping because we don't have a reverse route and we haven't done the configuration on C3. If I run show router interface, we'll realize we only have the system interface. We only have the interface to P1. So I will configure router interface system address 4.4.4, mask is 32. But again, if we go ahead and ping, we are still not able to. We are able to ping it right now. Okay. Let me show route 100 route table. So we have the route to 4.4.4. It's pointing to 3.3.3. You can see it's a static route. So info, you can see that we have our two static routes configured. And now the next step is to do configuration for VPN2. So exit, and then we'll do VPRN 200 info. You have the interfaces. We don't have any static routes. In VPRN 200 we have C2 and C5. So we need to configure static route. So it's very simple. Static route entry. We need to be able to access 2.2, mask is 32. And then next hop for this should be .5 info. You can see that by default it's shut down, so you need to now shut down. Exit info. You have our first static route. We'll do a similar static route for 5.5.5. so it is a static route entry. 5.5.5, mask is 32. Next hop should be 20.20.20.0, and then now shut down info. So you have a second static route. Let's try to ping router 100. This should be 200, and then 5.5.5 we can't ping. Try 2.2.2. We are also not able to ping because we don't have a reverse route. But if I run show router 200 route table, we missed something. We have a static route to 2.2.2, but we don't have a static route to. Let's check our configurations, the power of troubleshooting. So our next hop is wrong. So I need to configure this. So if you've configured a static route info and you want to change the next hop, of course we always have to next hop and then shut down. No next hop info. So we can change our next hop to, so the route is there but it's not active because this is a local IP, so we configured it wrongly. So it's 20.20.20.1. no shutdown info. Exit show router route table, show router show router 200 route table. You have the two static routes. The preference is set to 5. You can see the age and metric. So the metric is set to 1. So if I ping router 200 2.2.2, still not able to, then we try 5.5. We are still not able to. So we need to log into the two router, that is CE2. Show router interface. You have the interface configured. Configure router interface system address should be set to 2.2 mask 32. So we have it configured. Let's try to ping. We are not able to ping because we don't have a reverse route. If we check on C1, this is C2, show router route table. We can ping 20.20.20.4.5 the local IP, but we need a static route. So we'll configure another static route globally. So configure router static route entry, and then it's we configure a default static route. Next hop should be 20.20.20.5. This should be .4. No shutdown. Configure router info. You have your static route configured, and then we try to ping. Let's ping from P1. So you can see that we are now able to ping, and finally we can check on C4. Show router interface. So on C4 we have 5.5.5. configure router interface system address 5.5.5, mask is 32, and we also need to configure static route. So it's configure router static route entry default route. Next hop should be 20.20.20.0, no shutdown. We go again and try to ping from P1, and now we are able to ping. So if I show router 200 route table, you have your routes. We are also able to ping from C4. Ping router. We are just going to ping again to ping. Let's see if we are able to ping 3.3.3 from from C1 to C3. Let's see if we are able to ping. So I'll go to C1, show router interface. If I try to ping 4.4.4.4, try to trace 4.4.4. So you can see that it goes to the next hop, and then it falls on the next hop here. So that is okay. We will have to make more configuration, but if I run show router route table, you can see that we have a default static route here. On the PEs, show router let me see, I want to see if I'm able to see all the routes. Show router 200 route table. You have the routes. We able to ping router 100. So we are pinging 3.3.3 and 4.4.4. and 4.4.4. So we are able to ping from P1. And whenever we try to ping the other IP, for example, like last time when we tried to ping, we cannot be able to ping other VRFs. So this is why we need the VRF, so that we are able to separate services into different VPN instances. So for the static configurations again, it's very simple. For the global static routes, you just need to configure under the router configuration, configure router info, you can see the static route we configured. For VPN static routes info, you have to be within the VPRN, and then you configure the static route and give the next hop, and you always have to enable the static route with the no shutdown command under the next hop. For you to delete a static route, I mentioned that you need to first, like if I try to know static route entry 2.2.2 mask 32, you can see that it will inform me that cannot delete static route prefix without deleting the configured next hop. So if I want to delete this static route, I always have to delete the next hop. I shut down the next hop, and then I can delete the static route after deleting the next hop that are available in this static route. So info, these are the static route configurations for VPRN routes. So this is it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this session, and if you have any question, feel free to leave them in our comment section. You can also ping me on LinkedIn, and we keep learning together. Thank you for watching again, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, kindly hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more upcoming videos. See you in our next episode. Bye.